Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Sattology means science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. So one of the things which really comes to the mind is the history. If you look at the history of the world, which is being taught in the Western universities and other places, so much is propaganda, so much, especially history about Native Americans, history about Native South Americans, history about Hindus, history about Buddhists, all propaganda. Most of the philosophy of the West, whether it's beginning from Aristotle, Socrates, Plato's, and all the succeeding ones have come from the East. And there is no way that people like us or independent writers can challenge that because it's just a information apartheid in the university campuses. So help us put it out, the new set of information. We always welcome new authors and also welcome new ideas all the time. I have a very special guest today. So let us welcome Shri Sumit Mehta. Welcome, Sumit ji.
Namaste. Namaste. Namaste, Aditya ji.
And so, very interesting times now. The India buys 500 planes, and the President of the United States says thank you in the official press communique. Maybe it's the order is so huge, that's why it did it. But the way the wording went, that 1 billion jobs and 44 states will have 1 million jobs, when the details were too much. And that was astonishing for many people because Air India is a private company. It's not even a government entity. And on the other side, you had Prime Minister Modi coming on the Zoom, I think, or some video conferencing tool they were in, and discussing about the deal, and French president tweeting it, the British president doing it. So the entire West, I mean, it was very surprising. So what does it say about the changing ties of West with India?
See, this is very interesting moment. We have discussed about de-dollarization and you have done a show not only with me, but also my dear friend Ankit. And India is slowly moving away from dollar. At the same time, India realizes and acknowledges the fact that this is something that will make America jittery. And it is the responsibility of India to maintain a balance, something that we in India call as a middle path. So I think first thing is we cannot purely say that Air India is a private company, though it is privatized, because there would be some kind of government influence in terms of bilaterals, be it flying routes or landing rights and all those things. So somewhere Prime Minister Modi would have brokered the transactions to ensure that the Western European economy, which is the Airbus, that is the Britain and the France, and the Boeing, which is the US economy, is also kept liquid. So this is a balance. See, when Prime Minister Modi aspires to move to a new world order, which is not dollar dependent, which is not dollar denominated, it is not an easy task. And it is expected for US. And when I say US, NATO is by default a package with US to react against it. And I believe that here Prime Minister has really played a very good Kautilyan style of politics, wherein he is ensuring that the US is kept liquid, the US economy is kept liquid. He ensures that Biden acknowledges it. The French president, anyways, Prime Minister has a good rapport with him. But and we have in the past also supported France by giving the Rafale orders. Rafale orders has also helped France to a huge extent in creating employment or saving jobs. The same goes with Britain. We are negotiating, but I don't know where we'll go ahead in the negotiations on the FTA with UK. Although I have my own skepticism about the FTA, which I've tweeted about, but in the midst of all these things, it makes sense to play a balancing role, ensure that America is also kept liquid, Britain is also kept liquid, they also get orders, and I think there is some kind of diplomacy which is at play, which has forced President Biden, Prime Minister Sunak, and uh, Prime Minister Macron to acknowledge it in public domain, which goes and give credit to Prime Minister Modi for this. So there is something which has gone behind the curtain, something Kautilyan.
It's a very, you correctly said, it's a very interesting time for people across the world, where especially Asia and the West, because it looks like there is this kind of confrontation, because West always needs an enemy, always needs an enemy. Like if there is no enemy remaining, then the UFOs, they'll start shooting. So there's an enemy called known as aliens, like straight coming out down from the Star Wars or Hollywood movies. And if there is nobody, no enemy left anywhere to fight with, they will fight amongst themselves. This is the classical story of Pakistan and the West, anything West which you see there. But very interestingly, today the UAE, the Saudis, these are also very much voicing their opinions very openly, and they are not worried about losing the dollar payments. So what has changed suddenly? Like nobody can enforce that also. So what has changed?
See, everything started with the fall of Kabul. That is America's withdrawal from Afghanistan. Any currency in the world is defended only by one thing, and that is the military. Especially in the post Bretton Woods in institution based order, in which there is no gold to back your currency. What is backing your currency? What does US have to prove the worth of dollar? Nothing. It has exported the only commodity I can say that US has exported since 1970s is US dollar. Around 14 to 16 trillion US dollars is what they have printed and exported. How do they defend the value? Only by the military. They ensured that Saddam Hussein or Colonel Gaddafi were eliminated because they wanted to move the petrol trade from oil trade from petrodollar to gold. Same. Why is every country holding forex reserves in US dollars majorly? And thereafter it is euro, and thereafter pound sterling. To some extent, it is Japanese yen, and many have now started even including Chinese renminbi in their forex reserves. That is because the dollar oil trade is denominated in dollar. Now, if we move out of the petrodollar regime and if countries start transacting with each other in a currency that is comfortable, which they believe that, say, take for instance with India, Arab world imports a lot of food grains and other material from India, and they export us oil. For them, it makes sense to adjust it, and we have done it in the past. We had a rupee account with Iran as well when Iran was facing sanctions. And we were exporting, and it was all, in rupee and real denominated. So this kind of things will happen. Everybody is realizing it, and they are finding comfort in some other currency where, dollar is not involved. This is de-dollarization. It has slowly started. It may take 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know how long, maybe more, maybe less, but world is moving out of dollar. That is very clear from all these transactions.
This has been a pet theme of the mostly the commentators from Asia, but generally we don't see any news like that in the US or the West. We don't see that. Generally, the statements which come out and the media reports which come out is what is, I mean, a lot of American YouTube channels speak about it, a lot of American YouTube channels, but the mainstream media has no such discussion. Hardly a passing statement here and there, but generally there's no discussion. Now, the West also, suddenly the Ukrainian news, the war has disappeared. Suddenly, they're shooting some UFOs, and UFO news have come. Like the entire last weekend was spent by the US military in shooting some UFOs and the alien invasion on Montana and Canada in the sky. And the planes which usually fly are the you are laughing, but this is was a serious matter here. and and even one more funnier thing was the Mexico reported a missing satellite, and everybody knows that the most of the so many Mexican, I mean, telecommunication companies use balloons as reflectors, and most of those balloons are made in China. So I do not know what is happening all over the world, and the vaccine thing is being questioned by independent YouTubers like the one of the shows which I really like, which is good work, is sometimes I watch Redacted, and they also came up with a report that the vaccines were never tested on humans, and the vaccine testing will become a normal thing. I do not know what is happening. Question is not about any of those things. The question is that suddenly we see such a, like, you can make it out that it is a diversion. Something else is there. Like nobody is talking about what happened in Ohio was the same what happened in Indian Union Carbide. No one is talking. So something drastically has changed, and suddenly the main news has gone out, and people are worried that the whole river, right from Ohio to Mississippi, can be corrupted with chemicals. It's so many chemicals that people can't even imagine. I mean, Chernobyl looked like a small incident after this. So what is happening? What is again this side?
I'm not based out of US, but I follow whatever little US news on social media, that is Twitter, as well as on YouTube. And I really found it surprising that the Ohio incidents happened, and immediately we are seeing Chinese balloon thing coming up, that China is spying using balloons. Suddenly we get the whole balloon story. Uh, it probably the establishment is also interested in scuttling a few things, hiding a few things. And with the advent of media, social media, it has become easy to create diversions because people are also looking for alternate information. But I think you are the best person to really analyze because you are sitting right in US. So you are the best person to analyze it. But in India, whenever we are talking, whatever little discussion is happening on the social media, people are have an opinion in India that probably this alien thing and balloon thing could be a diversionary tactic to hide the Ohio incidents.
So also one of the things which I really like was the Aero India show happened recently, and the beautiful display of Indian as well as other, including American planes, were shown there. And Prime Minister Modi announced that there are more than 75 countries they're exporting to nowadays. More than 75 countries. And that was like a shocking news for me because I thought it will be 30, 35, 36, or 75 is what he said. And obviously, his data must be backed by something more than what I know actually. So uh, the question is like suddenly will do you feel the presence of that much money down which is coming in, because arms trade is always the most profitable trade in the world. It's the most profitable after pharma, because people have to get the for their own security, and there are very few companies which make quality ammunition, and most of the sale was ammunition. Most of the sale was ammunition which Indian companies are making. So what do you see the future of India in the defense side now? Because within a year, within last 10 years, India has turned into a consumer to an exporter now. But still they're consuming big technologies, which I'm sure they're going to work on that very quickly, so that the next 500 plane order comes from an Indian firm, maybe Tata. What do you have to say on that?
I hope so. Tathastu. I can only say Tathastu. And I hope, the gods are traveling above me and they echo the same view. Tathastu. So let me share with your audience a very interesting YouTube discussion I had heard long back. It was Mr. Ajit Doval who made a statement. It was a long discussion. I think it was more than a half an hour YouTube video. And he made a very interesting point that why is India a importer of arms and ammunition and military hardware when we should be an exporter? So somewhere I believe that even before Prime Minister Modi got elected, somewhere there was an idea which was very much within the core team of Prime Minister Modi that we have to reduce import dependence. And we all know how import of arms and ammunition, the whole of Chandigarh lobby, which I'm sure you also know, and I think many of your American viewers know about the Chandigarh lobby very well now, that they all were making money only by ensuring that their corruption and commission is kept intact in all the arms deals. Somewhere, Prime Minister Modi is now putting an end to it. Long back, I was talking to a friend who happened to discuss about the Kaveri engine and said that Kaveri engine is stupid. It is a very bad design. Today, when I was coming back home, I saw a small message that came in that Kaveri engine performance has been tested and it is above par. It is better than what was expected as per the technical grounds. And now they are working on enhancing it, and Godrej may be involved. I don't know about it, but I've read about it. So private sector is being involved. The skin is in the game because private money is getting involved. Earlier it was the Babudam. Okay, I call the bureaucracy Babudam. And they had no skin in the game. They'll say, okay, if it doesn't happen, we are getting our salary. We don't have to worry. Now, Prime Minister Modi has involved the private sector as well. More importantly, the Ordnance Factory Board. We had something in India called as the OFB, Ordnance Factory Board. Ordnance Factory Board had 17 factories across the country. They have been corporatized and converted into 17 separate companies. And what I understand from some veterans is that the top official over there is a serving military general. Okay, he may be a four-star or a three-star general, but he oversees the quality, oversees the functionality of the weapons manufactured, and he ensures that it is as per the army standards. Because otherwise, used to happen is that army used to complain that we are not getting something which is as per the quality and the requirements that we expect. And then there was complaining. So now Prime Minister has changed the whole equation that army needs weapons. Let the army guy sit as the head of the ordnance factory and decide on how it has to be manufactured, what has to be manufactured, what are the specifications, quality parameters, etc. So there is a sea change in the way the country has started thinking and the country has started operating. It's a paradigm shift. And I believe that if things go well, because we have started exporting BrahMos missiles, which is a joint venture with Russian government, and Brahmaputra and Moscow River. On that basis, it is named BrahMos. And we are exporting it to Vietnam and other countries. Now we are in talks, and I hear that even Tejas, there are a few countries who have placed orders to buy Tejas light combat aircraft and trainers. So I think in the next few years, we will be exporting much more. What you said, 500 aircrafts, Tathastu. May God bless India and may we keep on getting these kind of orders. I hope for the best.
So one interesting thing which was done last year, which people often do not see that, is that the large OFB was divided into seven independent companies. And we see that each one of them now coming up in a very professional way. Uh, People may not know that OFB is the largest network of defense production in the world, especially in the Asia, you can say, in terms of space, in terms of hangars and facilities they have, but they were never put to use. Like it is even bigger than, some people may doubt me, but you can check out on independent sources, go out and search it out, and you'll see in terms of area occupied by them, in terms of facilities they have, they are bigger than even Russian military industrial scale in terms of areas which are being there. I don't know about the technical side of it much, but in terms of the land given to them, the area, the testing, and it's a huge area OFB. But despite that, they were not very productive in many ways in export oriented production capacities. But ever since they were divided, and we can see that it has metaformized into a industrial hub in a way that technology transfer, and then it starts building like machine. So like they are now productively employed. So this required a lot of vision also. So what is the vision according to you of Prime Minister Modi to actually spark the kindle? Like he's everything is already there, but somebody has to start the light, and we see that things happening on its own.
I think this is dual doctrine. This I remember this was a discussion, a talk which happened on Manthan. On Manthan, it was Manthan where Mr. Dowell made this statement. I believe first thing is why waste money when we have capabilities in house. Today, DRDO, long back, I had downloaded a PDF file of more than 2,500 patents which DRDO has right now. Why have we failed in commercializing technology development which we have done in house? Why we have not put it to use? I think Prime Minister Modi comes with that mission, or probably even it could be an idea of Mr. Doval, who has convinced Prime Minister Modi about it, or there could be other set of people as well. And finally, what I realize is that if we have to be strong, we need to be dependent upon our own armaments. We cannot be speaking about being strong militarily when we don't have our own armaments. We have seen all those things happening, be it in 1998 Kargil War, be it in 1965, be it in 1971, or even 1962. We were not prepared. And somewhere we need to be Atmanirbhar. And that is what is driving Prime Minister Modi. Make in India. That is what is driving Prime Minister Modi. Aditya ji.
So in one of the speeches of Prime Minister Modi, and in public speeches, he said one of the public speeches was that the potential of youth of India has to be harnessed. India is the youngest country of the world. Youngest, oldest is the oldest civilization and youngest country. And but and the education, I know the recently the education minister said, again he repeated the old education minister's statement that we have not changed anything. But interestingly, he mentioned also we are adding. We are not removing anything, we are adding. That was a very good statement, because sometimes the if you add the vidya to avidya, and if the quantity of vidya is more, then avidya automatically disappears. Because people will make sense out of it, that if these two incidents happen on the same date, how can this be real, or will be factual? Both sides are presented equally strongly, and that was a very powerful thing. But India has not questioned, Indian education ministry has not questioned the Western education, which is so colonized even today. I mean, and a regular American child will see that how Europeans brought civilization to South America and North America. That's what they will learn. And then they grow up, they're very proud of what their ancestors did. But that is, and then they suddenly get to the university level, and they're challenged by the entire woke narrative, where everything which US did was wrong, which is a very classical way. And I've written a lot in my book that it is not the academics doing it, it's the church which is starting the wokeism kind of thing. But anyway, but Indian education ministry doesn't question anytime, like American textbooks, that at least about Hindus and Buddhists are also included there, and Sikh, at least you teach us them the right history. I don't care about what you teach to your European children. I don't care. If you want to keep them foolish, you can continue to do that. But at least for our cultures, if you want to be part of this thing, and in India is exactly reverse. In India, people will, and I'm talking about many of the Hindu community also, they will quote Western authors citing their history. They will never quote an Indian alternative, because that is not available. So what will the government do, or what do you think needs to be done on this regard?
I think here government is going a bit slow. They could have probably gone a bit fast. but I think there could be a lot of challenges, be it the bureaucracy, be it the academia, be it the whole leftist ecosystem that has entrenched itself in the education sector. And this goes back to Nurul Hassan, who was a communist, a Marxist, who was made the minister for education in Indira Gandhi government. And he was the person to help the left perpetrate into the education system and strengthen its roots. And where have they made a entry, and where they have a very strong base? It is in humanities, it is in language, it is in social sciences. They have no presence in STEM. STEM is where they are totally absent because the people over there can think much more logically, and the propaganda doesn't run in STEM. There is a slight change in the education policy. Now, the STEM students can take up some humanities subjects and or social sciences subjects, which can help them to build up understanding of what kind of narrative is being placed. We have brought a little bit of change in the history. We have changed the history syllabus to bring in uh, the Indic way of looking at history, but still it has a long way to go. Probably the challenges that the government faces could be on the bureaucratic side, because even the NEP that I have seen had huge sections where bureaucracy has unlimited power to interplay and have its own way out. So that is one area. Second thing is the academia, and probably government will have to find the right kind of intellectual capital within the nationalist ecosystem who can work on this whole thing. Because till now, the nationalist ecosystem was never allowed to be created, and the left never allowed anybody who had a pro-India, pro-Bharatiya view to even get entry and say anything. It was totally controlled by the left and by the Islamists and their own idea of India, the Nehruvian idea of India. So it may take some time, but I think we have to wait and watch before jumping to conclusion that government has failed. I don't think government has failed. Probably government is finding its own way, trending softly, so that it does not create major ruckus. Because in past we have seen that whenever there was a little bit of change in the syllabus or in any content, there was a huge outrage, and the government was forced to withdraw it. At times, there were even wrong statements made. So probably there can also be mischief played. So it is better to be safe than sorry, and better to be slow and steady instead of being fast and then falling down.
One of the things which has also come in the view is the on the finance side, the BRICS currency is making R5 is making rounds nowadays. So what is the future of the R5 currency of the BRICS? Where is it coming this year or next year? Or what is the thing going on?
BRICS currency has to come sooner or later. We have to wait for how G20 shapes up. What are the outcomes of G20 summit in India in September? And probably based on that, we'll get a cue on how BRICS currency will be shaping up. Because more and more countries are interested in joining BRICS. Countries are also oil-rich countries. Oil exporters are also keen on being part of the BRICS currency because they want to diversify their foreign currency portfolio, reduce dependence on dollar, and have an exposure in another currency which can be more easily tradable and acceptable globally. What other than BRICS currency? So we have to wait and watch. I think the first cue we can get is after the G20 summit. Only then we'll understand whether and how BRICS currency is shaping up.
Yeah, that is a very interesting thing because most of the people they are eagerly waiting whether Asia can ever unite because it was a very grand European strategy to keep Asia divided and fighting. Because if the Asia is united, then the West loses their profits. So it was always there to keep Asia disunited, and the Western satellites like Australia, Philippines, and Japan, they worked at very well together with Europe and Americas to keep it that way. And you'll see the maximum concentration of Western naval forces was in Asia all the time. So, so do you ever think that the West obviously will not like India's rise now because it's a democratic country and it has a very functioning systems, and they would like to get back to it somewhere or the other through internal conflicts and through change of government, regime changing wars. So how do you think real it is, the regime changing wars in India? Because most of the Indians don't think such long term. I mean, especially in the political community.
Uh, you have rightly said. See, the two oldest civilizations in the world, the most richest civilizations in the world, too, are India and China. And we have had a very good exchange and relationship for more than 2,500 years. What changed? It was the opium wars that British made Indians fight for and used opium made in India to trade with China so that they can buy tea and silk and other things without having to pay for that. Chinese definitely, I believe, carry the baggage of that. Chinese don't forget history. They remember history. They have not forgotten this. That is my understanding. And US has learned one thing. It will not want to allow any country to grow very strong. They have learned one thing from China. You should allow a country to grow only to ensure that US economy is kept liquid. At the same time, you should ensure that that country doesn't grow faster and bigger, that it becomes strong enough to stare into the eyes of US and challenge US's supremacy or hegemony. China has done that. So US has learned from it, and now US is playing games in India. US is well aware about the schisms and the fault lines in the Indian political and the social space, and it is exploiting it very well. However, what you said about regime changing wars, my view is that the first regime changing war will happen in 2024. I have multiple reasons. First, when you look at the politics within India, and when I'm talking about within India, it is the left and the Congress, and along with the whole of the Islamist ecosystem. If you look into the history of elections since 1951, the first election that happened in India, till date, all the states where Congress has lost three elections in a row, it has never come back to power. Look at Bengal. Left won three times in the back to back against Congress. Congress was defeated. Now there is no Congress in Bengal, except for a few seats here and there. And they know they are a fringe player. Look at Tamil Nadu. It is a fringe player. Look at UP, Bihar. It is a fringe player. Look at Kashmir, fringe player. Gujarat, fringe player. They have realized that if they have to survive in Delhi, they have to defeat Narendra Modi. And whatever, come whatever may, they will have to do it. That is the first thing. Second thing is when we look at it from a Anglo-American deep state perspective, the Anglo-American deep state will want two things. First, if there is a clear majority, then the Prime Minister of India should be a totally compromised one who will not think about India and Indian interest, but sell his own country and his soul to the deep state. So that is first situation. And a better situation, if that is not happening, is that let there be a coalition of parties coming together to form the government, because nearly all the regional parties are totally corrupt and greedy, and they don't care beyond their own regional interests. They are not interested in anything on the national level, and they can be easily corrupted with money and everything. And they come into power, they share power. You look at, be it during Vajpayee ji's tenure or during the 10 years of tenure of of Congress, that is UPA under Manmohan Singh, they were only interested in making money. They had no vision. And when you have that kind of government where the core is very weak or the core is compromised, then it is the deep state, the Anglo-American deep state, which can play its game. Now that is not happening with Prime Minister Modi. First thing is we don't have a coalition government. We have one single party having 300 plus seats. Second thing is we have a man at the helm who is totally incorruptible. He doesn't have a family. He doesn't need money. And he's working to build India. So what should be done? First, either kill Narendra Modi or create a public opinion that Narendra Modi and BJP are crony capitalists. They are selling India to Ambani's and Adani's and other people. They are not doing anything for the country, or create schisms on the caste lines or religious line or linguistic lines to ensure that BJP doesn't come in power. And I think there will be a lot of money going into it, to the extent that even if BJP falls short of 5-10 seats, if in case, I don't feel so, but this could be the calculation, buy out everyone to ensure that BJP does not come in power. And in this whole process, even this whole recently, what we have seen, the Hindenburg episode, the attack on Adani, is a part of that whole conspiracy to target the government, to target the country, to create aspersions in the mind of people and use that against the government. So I feel this is one side. Other is, if in case Modi is killed, what happens? There will be a civil war. And this is something that US wants, because if there is a civil war which goes on for 6 to 8 months or a year, India from 3.3 trillion will be at 1 trillion. Finish. And then it will take 20-25 years for us to rise. What is a better thing than that for the West? And more importantly, after the civil war, it will be a compliant government. The people who have sold their souls, who are not interested in governance, who have been in power since 1947, but have not done anything compared to what Modi has done in last 8 years. They will come back and it will be everybody will be enjoying. So it will not be a regime changing war in the war sense, but it will definitely be something which will be dangerous for the country. And you don't have to use kinetic force or military action. You can use fifth generation warfare for that.
Very, I hope everyone is safe and nobody gets hurt in this Western regime changing operations. I mean, it's always, the West has always intervened in a very negative way all over the world. It is not just a story of India, it's a story of Myanmar, it's a story of South America, it's a story of Africa. Africa is kept poor deliberately because they have so much of wealth, natural wealth they have, and it has been kept poor by the Western countries. They've been exploiting it, they've been bombarding it without any reason. Even the France, which is the biggest ally of India, but what they've been doing in Africa is nothing short of human rights violation. So karma always hits back in a very royal way. And we can see that you can't walk in Paris nowadays. The thing about the Eiffel Tower, love walk under the Eiffel Tower is a thing of the past now. There's so many police, so much barricades are there right now. And it is happening all over the West. But still, I mean, people are scared. Like people, most of the Americans may think that they're doing a wonderful job for the world, but that's not the way. What looks inside USA is just a reflection of what is happening around the world by the same agencies. Now, one question comes there is that Indians generally, and especially I will say the Hindus, they have seen many these kind of things very observantly, and obviously they have very good intelligence and they can figure out what is happening. But we don't see that kind of information being communicated to the masses, that what is happening against India. Like, just give an example that the world is recognizing in the last 10 years, India has built 75 or 74 or 73, like between 73 75 brand new airports and world-class airports. Infrastructure, India has introduced more than 1,000 new trains with the significantly upgraded infrastructure. And also, the per capita income of most of the Indians has actually gone up by almost 30%, 30%, which is a big number for a large population like this. Most of the places, the per capita income has gone down, including USA. And the capitalism versus communism debate is only for the local Western consumption, because capitalism is not a solution, because it creates few pockets of wealth. And socialism is also not a solution because it makes everybody poor. Both are extreme ideologies. You cannot have a stable society with these extreme ideologies. So the Indian economic model of a balance, because state has to be a welfare state. State cannot be capitalist. State has to be welfare. If the state is capitalist, that means the laws will be made for only the rich, which happens in the US too. Healthcare is a major issue where the healthcare is considered a incentive, not a right in the West. Capitalistic societies, all capitalism models, where you have to pay a high price. So, what is the balance which India needs to follow on the economic side so that they can avoid, I say, brute capitalism and the brute socialism?
Very good question. Like Aditya ji, you have touched a topic which is dear to my heart. Capitalism, communism, socialism, they are all Western concepts. And it is not that India was not a capitalist country. It is not that India was not a socialist country. India had the blend of both, and I call it dharmic economics. India was a thoroughly capitalist society. We exported goods right from the era of more than 2,500 years ago. The mummies in Egypt are wrapped in cotton muslin cloth manufactured in India. We exported that. There was a time when there was a ban on Indian goods in Rome and other places, Greece and other places, because they had to give away their gold and silver to buy Indian goods. We have seen Chola Empire, we have seen the Gujarat state, we have seen even the the Sindhu Saraswati civilization, what we call as the Mohenjo-daro, and that. Even there are evidences that we were doing foreign trade even then. We have evidences, including whatever is written in by Chanakya or Acharya Vishnugupta, that there were traders who were richer than the kings. There were three things which were very important. I am using the Hindi terms and I'll translate it in English. That Tilak, Taraju, Talwar, that is the knowledge and enterprise and military strength. All three have to go together, hand in hand. Without that, a country cannot be prosperous. At the same time, what India did, or rather I'll say Bharat did, was a redistribution of wealth in the most dharmic manner. When I say dharma, dharma is about the duty. Dharma is not religion per se. Religion is something that I disagree, that Hinduism and all are not religion. Hinduism is dharma, it is duty. What is my duty to the society? Prime Minister Modi, you can verify, IMF has come out with a report and it has stated that India has managed to reduce the inequalities and disparities in pandemic by ensuring that government provides food to each and every poor people. Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai. That is for the interest of every smallest of the individual and for the welfare and the happiness of every smallest of the individuals. This is a Sanskrit word, a Sanskrit saying, Bahujan Hitai, Bahujan Sukhai. That is ingrained into the civilizational values that we carry. And that is where Prime Minister Modi is spending around 2 trillion rupees to feed 800 million people. They will get food grains and cereals free, oil free for the whole year. What is that? That is our duty back. Second thing is, in socialism, the structure is that the whole power is controlled by the few people in the Politburo. We don't have that in India. Today, if in case you feel you will feed 50 people, or you may give books to 500 people, or you may provide some other service, you may go to a school and you may say that I'll sponsor 5, 10, 15, 20 people as per your desire and capacity. We don't see that elsewhere. This is how the whole structure of the society in India is decentralized. It is not that we have to go to one place of worship. Everybody has different. You may believe in one god, one deity. I may believe in other deity. That does not make me kill you or you kill me. We are both okay. We will go to the same temple. Even I will also fold hands. You may chant one mantra. I may chant another mantra, depending on what I believe in and what I look at. But we are living, and we are, everyone is working only on one thing, that is welfare, because that is also part. You look at the concepts like Shraddh, you look at what is the basis of that. What is the basis of Tithi? Janma Tithi, Punya Tithi. that are occasions for us to give back to the society. That is not ingrained in the civilization elsewhere. And so I believe that Indic or the Dharmic civilization or the Dharmic capitalism has a blend of both, because it is not just the government doing, it is also the people. I know people who have spent a couple of crore rupees in during pandemic to help people, feed people. So, that is a perfect manner where there is no control at one single place. It is decentralized, everybody is doing their bit. That doesn't happen elsewhere. And that is why I like this system. And I, of course, agree with you that the Western capitalism is as bad as, the pre Enlightenment era where the control was with the church. Now it is with the few capitalists who work in tandem with the deep state, or rather, they are part of the deep state. We have seen that with big pharma, big tech, defense, and Wall Street. What have they done for the people? Nothing. Whereas what is happening in India? We have Ambanis and Adanis who are serving the people, and forget Ambanis, Adanis. Even a small person who is earning 300,000 rupees per annum, he may also end up donating 3,000 rupees for the welfare of others. So that is the civilizational value, which will keep us very different and will ensure that we all strive and we all thrive, because karma. This is our karma. This is how we are sowing positive karma, the seeds which are reaping results.
So, it's a, you kept the answer very short. You could have gone on and on, but I understood that you wanted to keep the time in limit. It's
I
a
could
pet
have
topic.
gone, probably we can have another session only on dharmic economic systems. But I felt that we have a more broad based debate, so discussion. So, let me put an end somewhere.
Because Arthashastra includes a lot of things, like includes
Yes,
governance, includes social structures, includes economy, includes everything else. I mean, and economy part is connected to Purushartha. So which is the, which is needed. Dharma, Artha is needed. Both of them are needed together. Uh, Thank you so much today. We could have gone on. In the next show, we'll cover your desire and my desire also, because that is a pet topic. But people got an idea that a balance is needed. Extreme philosophies don't work. Like the extreme is anything extreme doesn't work in anything in life, including your personal health. So thank you so much. And for viewers, if you want to see our latest content, do subscribe, click the notification bell, because most of you say such good content, we never saw it, because it's on your side, not on our side. You have to subscribe to the channel and click the notifications bell so that every day we have very good discussions coming out. You can see them. So thank you so much, Sumitji, and thank you all the viewers. Namaste.
Namaste, Aditya ji. It was a pleasure being on your show. Thank you very much.